Good morning. Sorry, I was out sharing this stuff and I did not see that we were starting already. Hello. Good morning. How are you, Willy?
Oh, I'm great. Not bad for 4 hours of sleep. But I'm
That's
good. I got a
that's
busy
right.
online day ahead of me, so that's all right. That's what we do.
Yeah. Yep. How are you with the new time change?
This time of year, it's an adjustment.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's weird for me this time change like cuz usually years like every year before, it doesn't really make a difference. I just noticed that like, during the winter it gets darker earlier and during the summer it gets lighter earlier, but I swear this round, this spring, the one that just happened 2 weeks ago, it has really messed with me. Like I don't know why gaining or losing that hour, making it an hour ahead has really messed with my sleeping system and I've never had it mess with it before. So this is new for me. I was like, holy crap. All right. Maybe something's got to change. Maybe it's my age. I don't know. Because
Oh,
I happily go to bed at like 2 a.m. sometimes. But man, when I see it's like 3 a.m. now, I'm like, oh, I fucked up.
no, only complaint I have about this time of year, as opposed to the time change and daylight savings times, is the seasonal change that's around the corner. Around the Easter, I get depressed because I don't adjust too well to warm weather, and I know that that's what's around the corner for me. So, um,
You
yeah.
don't adjust well to warm weather?
Well, I'm not. Oh no, not at all. I'm the around Labor
What?
Day. I my around the fall. I'm like it's my most cheery because it's like I'm more of a wintry person.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. I love me some summer. So
Yeah.
I'm such a my birthday's in the summer, so my birthday parties were always at pools or where there was water all the time. So I'm definitely a summer baby. Like the hotter the better. I mean, I used to live in the high desert, so and I used to work on an Air Force base and right next to the flight line, it can get up to like 120 degrees out there. So I love hot weather, but there is a point where I'm just like, okay, this is too much. I'm like using up all my punch cards for the McDonald's smoothies every day.
Yeah, but it's a dry heat though. That's a little bit different from the humidity here in the southeast.
Very
And yeah, East
yeah, very
Coast here. Oh, it's murder over here.
Yeah, it's like walking into a sauna out there. I did some summertime in Texas down under Houston once, and oh my God, like you would take a shower and you feel all nice and refreshed, and you walk outside and you're just wet again. It's crazy.
Same in North Carolina in the summer. I mean, it's brutal. I mean,
Yeah.
it is brutal. So as I said, around Labor Day, I'm like happy because it's like I know that the chillier weather is around the corner and all of that. And
hmm
I mean, in your case, I can understand why you may not be particularly happy about winter anymore. So, and I
Yeah.
feel for you. So, what you
Yeah.
went through.
Yeah, exactly. No, no, yeah, true. What's so funny is that all that happened during those 2 weeks, it was so brutal and it was like it's almost traumatizing to go through it, but now like it's a couple weeks past and it's just been raining so a lot of the snow is gone and things are back to normal now. It's almost kind of like a cool experience. It wasn't a cool experience because it wasn't fun for us, but it was an experience. You always say like you want to empathize with people and how they experience certain situations in their life, but it's really hard to experience certain things in life without going through it. And like natural disasters and states of emergencies, I always thought that I would empathize with people, or I've empathized with people like Hurricane Katrina.
Mhm.
I felt horrible during that, even though I wasn't even close to all that was happening out there. I was still in California. It now that I've gone through my own version of the state of emergency natural disaster thing, you can't empathize and really visually feel at what is going on through people's lives unless you're in it, because then you see your neighbors and you hear about your neighbors. Like what they tell you on the news is it sucks. Like they just kind of, oh, a death happened and then that's it. Like they end it, and then that's all. But you don't hear that. My friend Patty's son had to go next door and dig out the tunnel or dig out a tunnel into the front door, kick the front door down because it was locked, just to find that neighbor dead, and had been in there for 2 weeks dead, not knowing how long they've been dead. So that's the hard part, is like empathizing when you're not in it. You could try
Right.
as much as you can, but once you're in it, it's wow. So
Yeah. As I said, down here in North Carolina, just a few little dusty flakes. I mean, it's hilarious that a whole state was shut down.
mhm,
And they panic. I mean, they will panic now. I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, to see how they panic down here, over
mhm,
here the East Coast, because we
yeah,
don't. I mean, we don't get it like we used to. We used to have the normal sequence of snowstorms when I was growing up, and 1988. After 1988, it was like every couple of years. That was about it.
mhm,
Every 3 or 4 years, we may get something, and then we'll get something, maybe a few flakes, maybe in the central part of North Carolina, maybe a few dusty flakes, and that's it. Like last
mhm.
week, we had a few dusty flakes for about a half an hour, and that was it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, and that's the same thing out here too. People freak out as well, like because our area, the people that live here, we won't freak out as much because we're used to snow. We chose to live out here. But the people that are down in the city, who we call flatlanders, because we're unincorporated here, our income, like prosperity of this area, comes from tourism. That's the only way we can make our money here in this town, to keep it going. So, we had a lot of what we call flatlanders up here in the mountains during that storm. And yeah, there was a lot of people that are freaking out. It happens a lot. Like if you go up to like Northern California, like up in Mammoth or Lake Tahoe, where they get a lot more snow than we do, man, those guys were prepped. Like that whole 2 weeks that we were down here freaking out, panicking, like worrying that we were going to get stuck in our homes and shit. They were up there snow plowing. They had everything. They were already prepared because they're used to it. Yeah, we're used to it to a certain extent, but not that much before. They were like, yeah, bring it on. We're cool. We're totally fine. Now that they got the flooding, it's a little much, but yeah, we freak out as well. It's still not even safe around here. Now that the news, now that we're, not as dangerous around here, the news doesn't care. But we just had a guy, what was it, 2 days ago? Because I found out when I was on my way to the airport. Um, uh so the roads are all plowed and stuff, but you still have the really tall berms, the snow berms on the side of the road. So people, because not everybody has a car around here or out here, people are still walking, and they're having to walk like on the road on the side, trying not to get hit by cars, or making sure the cars are being nice, because we don't have anywhere on the side to walk. Even though we don't have sidewalks, there's still like sides of the mountain that we can walk on to keep ourselves off the roads and shit. But since we don't have that right now, I guess the other day, one of our locals that a lot of people know, he's a really nice old man, got hit by a car the other night and passed away.
Oh no.
And from what we hear, it was a hit and run. The cops are looking at the camera footage of like at stores to see if we can find out who the person is. But the rumor is that it was, or what we call a flatlander, who came up here to hang out in the snow, didn't realize that there was people walking, hit them, and kept going and went back down to the city or something. So, but it was definitely a hit and run. So there's things that are still happening out here, and it's still not safe for a lot of people. It's just, you're not going to hear it on the news because they're on to the next thing, so.
Yeah, about 20 years ago, we had a massive snowstorm in the Raleigh area, and it shut down the state. I mean, so badly that Highway 440, the inner belt line in the Raleigh area. I mean, the traffic. They were like about 10 hours, like trapped on the highway, and it made on the national news, and people were making fun of people in the Raleigh area being trapped on Highway 440 because they went on super panic mode trying to get home.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely. That sounds like out here too. I know the weather's crazy, but I'm glad things are getting back to normal. I had my friend, well, I didn't have my friend. My friend Amazon ordered me some toilet paper to make sure I wouldn't run out. So I got some toilet paper at my front yard the other day. It was a huge box of toilet paper. I got like 24. So I should have enough toilet paper to last me a very long time now. I'm actually using toilet paper as paper towels to clean up like around the house because I've got so much toilet paper.
There you go. Yeah. put it to good use, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna go around to my well, no, because everybody can drive again. Everybody's back to normal around here, so it's not like I can go around and be like, anyone needs some free toilet paper? Because we're good. We're all good now. So
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have a grocery store, but I did test Instacart from the Stater Brothers in Lake Arrowhead, which is our only grocery store on this mountain now, which is insane to say because all the other grocery stores are now fully broken and are not usable. So our one grocery store, I tested Instacart about a week ago and it worked. They brought me food. So I was like, yes, okay, Instacart still works. I don't have to drive anywhere to go grocery shopping. I'm good. I'm way good. So just give, the Instacart driver, a little extra tip, like a 20% tip. So just to hook it up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's say hi to everybody in the comments because I have not said hi. I was expecting nobody to be here today, and it was just going to be me and you to hang out because I haven't done a show in 3 weeks, so I'm just like I lost my momentum or something. I don't know. Peace Dove. I love seeing Peace Dove with Warren's old name because it was War Deer, and then you got Peace Dove. So hi, Peace Dove. Good to see you.
Okay.
Al. I know, isn't that cool? They made the name Peace Dove to go with War Deer. So that's pretty cool. I love it. Al Tyrell, thank you. Happy spring. Is it really spring already, you guys? Because it's still raining out here. It's still raining. What was it? What is it? That animal that comes out and sees its shadow? Like he was totally right this year. We were like expected to have more snow and more winter for like a few more weeks, and he was fucking right.
Oh, Groundhog Day. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. Okay, so what's up, Warren? Hi, Brandy. Good to see you. Please, someone email me about Carolina barbecue. Okay. Wait, is Carolina barbecuing?
Oh, Carolina barbecue. Oh, that's here in North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've eaten there before.
Nice. I don't think I've ever been to the Carolinas, so I've never. I mean, I've had barbecue before.
Well, it depends on what part of the state you go to. If you're in the central and eastern part of the state, you get the vinegar-based barbecue. And if you go to the western part of the state, you get the more tomato-based barbecue. So I think by the time you're in the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area, I think that's where it becomes more tomato-based.
They both don't sound good.
Yeah. I don't like the vinegar base by itself, but it's actually tolerable when you have it with fried chicken and coleslaw. I mean, and I will have it if somebody serves it, but it has to be with fried chicken and coleslaw. It's tolerable.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I couldn't do either one. For one, I don't like tomato-based stuff. Like when I have spaghetti, I use Alfredo sauce. I don't do the tomato sauce. I don't like tomato sauce at all. It's so gross to me. And then I don't like vinegar at all. The smell and taste of vinegar is gross. There were vinegaroons in my area when I was a kid growing up, and we used to get bit by vinegaroons a lot. And all you could taste and smell for a week was just vinegar. It was the worst thing ever. So I don't like it.
It can be overwhelming.
It is very, yeah. So when you're a kid growing up, getting bit by vinegaroons a lot, you learn to grow up to not really like vinegar. That's why when people are like, you want to clean your house really good and spot shine it and help clean your house really, really good, get some vinegar on it. I'm like, yeah, you lost me there. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
you could have said bleach or something. I would have been fine with that, motherfuckers, but you had to go with vinegar.
Yeah, I can't deal with it. I mean, as I said, I mean, you got to have vinegar to eat certain foods, and I get it, but it has to be so absorbed in there where you can't smell it after the fact.
Right. Exactly. All right, what's up, Les Bones, LFG. I don't know what that means. These kids, I swear to God, they use these like letters instead of words. Like WTF is like what the fuck. I don't know what LFG is.
These young whippersnappers.
I know. Official People's Party. Oh, Jim, what's up, Jim? Your mom's birthday's on Groundhog Day. How fun. Okay, he said it's not real unless it's hickory smoked. Have you ever had a hickory smoked barbecue?
Not to my recollection.
That sounds a little bit better. I probably could do any kind of smoked meat. I really enjoy it because it gives it that like fireplace, campfire kind of taste to it. And I really love that. I will pretty much eat anything if it's in a campfire just because of the taste that a campfire gives to food. It's so good.
Yeah, that might be better than vinegar base.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it just gives it that smoky barbecue kind of taste to it. I think that's Southern too, but maybe a different area. I'm not sure. I just know that barbecue is Southern.
Yeah, definitely is. It's definitely a staple of the South. I think it's South Carolina and Georgia's mustard based.
Ooh, mustard based. That sounds interesting. Now I could do that.
Yeah. So that's how, and I mean, it just depends on what part of the South you're in. And, yeah. But in North Carolina is vinegar and tomato base for the most part.
Okay. Yeah, see, Ed Heller says I'd probably like Texas barbecue because it's mostly salt and pepper. That's awesome. I like salt and pepper too. Shit. Oh, okay, let's fucking go. That's what LFG means. Thanks, Warren.
Okay.
You got the older person helping out the old person to translate for the young person. And I love that. We got the Gen Xer helping the elder millennial translate for the young millennial. It's awesome.
Yeah, yes. And this Generation Xer now learns something new every day too.
That's right. You Gen Xers are still awesome because you guys still have like the leftovers of like the old school kind of things, but with like the rebellion of the new school too. So it's like you remember what old school rules you used to have, but then you have that rebellion in you of like, I want to stay young forever. Fuck that.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
I just never wanted to be a boomer.
Right. It's
Yeah.
so cool. I love it. Us the millennials definitely look up to you guys as like the pioneers of rebellion and stuff. I just watched on Netflix, there's a documentary on there of Woodstock 99, and oh my god, it was so good to like see the culture of teenagers in 1999, like the angst and the anger, and how a little song can just really just like set the stage for a crazy experience at a concert that probably shouldn't have happened. But it was really cool to see like how teenagers was, because I was still like, I was a teenager in the 90s, but I was a young teenager. So like Woodstock 99, I was just graduating junior high, so I wouldn't have been old enough to even go to something like that, or ever even allowed to. But it was something that I really loved about it, and I still to this day, like, even though I'm a millennial and I'm a 90s kid, I still love the older teenager lifestyle of the 90s, like the Nirvana and the Red Hot Chili Pepper kind of vibe of like teenager angst and anger. I love that. You guys were awesome back then.
Yeah, that's sort of like I guess the younger generation Xers, older millennial sort of
Right.
kind of meeting halfway there, kind of.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was cool though. The 90s, you guys had some really fucking kick-ass stuff. I mean, you guys had Social Distortion. I would have loved to have been in my 20s in the 90s just because of the rebellious party scene would have been amazing.
Yeah. I missed the party scene myself, but you know what? I want to retire in less than 8 years. I'll be able to party all the time.
That's right. Wait, you said in your 80s you're going to party all the time?
No, I said in less than 8 years I'm going to retire. I'll be partying all the time then.
That's awesome. That's what I say about how old is my kid now? She's about to be 15. So now I've got 3 more years when my youngest kid in the house is old enough to move out or just have her own life and be an 18-year-old. So I've got 3 more years and then I'm fucking done. I'm done.
Yeah. I'm just counting. I'm just counting it month by month, and year by year, month by month, week by week.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's fine. Jim says mine's not just being rebellious. I'm the Antichrist. I would say I'm counting a coup, but I like the sound of collecting souls better. Collecting souls, yes. I'm right there with you. Fucking Les Bones. Les Bones has been on a roll recently, a Sabby roll. I'm surprised he's not over there watching Sabby right now. He's so funny.
Let's see. All right. All right. All right. Well, let's see. But so I got to count those times to the year 2031, and just hope that we don't get nuked. Don't hope. Hope we don't have a economic crash. Just hope that things can just smooth itself out.
Yep. John says, hope you still have SSI then too, Willie.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Me too.
I know that's the problem with the government. I swear to God, every time like there's any kind of Republican in leadership, they always want to cut social programs to bring down the debt. Ugh. But then like they'll just bail out a bank though, two of them out of nowhere.
Oh, they'll bail out a bank. They'll bail out these corporations, but
Right.
and they'll find if there's people to yeah, there's a country to invade or give weapons to, they'll find it. But if there's people to give health care to or supply free education or anything that's beneficial to the American people,
Right.
just don't have the money for that. Free
And
stuff.
it's the words they use too, and it's the buzzwords. I don't understand how people haven't put two and two together yet. Like, how do you see that, when they talk about giving bailouts to these banks or giving money to Ukraine and Israel and stuff, how nobody ever says, like, we've got to get the money from here, or how are we going to get that money? They just say freely, like, here, we're giving them this. But then they talk about like how they're doing now with the whole, bringing down the debt and wanting to cut Social Security and all that stuff. It's like or wanting to even help pay off a student loan debt. They're like, how are you going to pay for it? We can't do that. That's going to bring up the debt, blah, 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 blah. I just don't understand how people haven't put like two and two together. Money is money. Like, even if you don't even know where the money is coming from in the government, how can you not see those two reactions differently, like from the news media? It still hasn't made sense to me how people haven't figured that out.
No, nothing makes sense about our American government and how the media, how the mainstream corporate media kind of, just kind of, do their narrative and all of that. And people just sit there and go, oh, okay.
Yep. Yep. And I got to give it to, I think it was Kyle Kalinske that has been starting this little word trend that I really am enjoying hearing, even though, Kyle Kalinske is a bit of a shit lib now, little Mr. Ken doll running around. But he's started talking about or started bringing up these words recently since this little bank bailout. And I really enjoyed it. And it was privatize the gains and socialize the losses.
Mhm.
I really am enjoying that, hearing that, because it's starting to get people's wheels in their heads start turning, like, holy shit, and we needed something like that. We've been, like I was saying right before, like, how are people not putting two and two together, and this is kind of a way to get people's wheels turning to see, like, oh shit, you're right. Like, holy crap, how did we not see this before? And I'm really enjoying to see those words: privatize the gains, socialize the losses. So
He's
really
still
good.
he's still one of the gatekeepers that of independent media, the mainstream gatekeepers. That's better than the others. He's gotten a little more mainstream lately, and I don't like that about him. But he's better than TYT. He's better than Sam Cedar and better than David Packman and all of those folks.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Every time I put on any of those people just to hear what they're talking about, and then I just don't watch it, I just forget about finding the next video on YouTube. It puts me onto the Majority Report. So I've been accidentally listening to them a lot lately, and holy shit, I cannot stand them. They are really shit liberty. It is absolutely insane how much, like, and they can talk themselves into anything too. It's nuts. Like, they just back the Party or Democratic Party like I've never seen before. It's nuts. Especially an independent.
It's hard to believe that I used to listen to them nonstop a lot. Yeah, I mean, 8 years ago, 6 years ago. I mean, and I can't now. Yeah, I mean, I just can't.
Yep. What's up, Ed? Good to see you. So based. No, I got it. I got it earlier. I just I don't like talking nice about myself online. You guys are all making me nervous. Where is it? Jim also says they have about 200 more to bail out from what I'm reading. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like we're repeating 2008 again. I
It
mean,
is.
I just feel like we're repeating 2008 again.
Yeah.
And that was
We're
a horrible.
repeating 2008 financially. Politically, we're repeating 2016 with the Marianne Williamson bullshit.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
It's nuts. It's like people are trying to live that nostalgic time all over again to repeat it and maybe succeed. But like, sorry, bros, you already lost. Like you lost several times. I don't know what you're trying to succeed this time around. It's like beating a dead horse, you know. Here, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yep, and that's exactly what they're doing. And as I said, and people are going to sit there and be okay with the bailouts, and then you're going to have well-meaning people look at Marianne Williamson, and I don't dislike her. I mean, I think she's okay. I just don't think that if they didn't take Bernie Sanders, if they did this to Bernie Sanders, they're really going to rake the coals over her. And I mean, it's not worth the time. I mean, I'm done for Democrats. I'm done for.
Yeah, exactly. I don't need to be sheep herded back into the Democratic Party again just to go door knocking for this woman who's never going to win anyway. I'm over it. I'm so over it. I'm sorry, but Bernie Sanders took way too much free work out of me and then did all that. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. And I never get to fool me twice. So I'm done. I'm over it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and what's sad is that Bernie Sanders was probably the one person that could have probably turned me into a Democrat again. And what happened? That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not even in the Bernie cult anymore.
Right. Yeah, Ed, I agree. Financially, we're repeating the late 20s. But see, this is the thing, though, is I think so many people have lost hope that we're not going to get, like, a president like FDR, in the late 20s or in the 20s when he came around and then brought all those social programs and stuff. I really don't think it's going to happen. I don't know. It's just we've proven it. Like we have the social programs, rich people were paying a ridiculously good amount of taxes, all the social programs were in. We've just spent what happens is when the majority of citizens of a country start living those social things, and experience them and living their lives and stuff, they don't pay attention to the politics anymore. And that's when these corporations go into the politics and say, we want to cut this shit. Like we're done. We need more money. No more taxing us. No more regulations. Let us get away with all this shit and just put it all on the people and blame them. And then they get to control the media. And that's, we've had 100 years to prove that. So I don't understand how, if you think, a repeat of 1920s is going to, in the next 100 years, is going to be any different than what we're experiencing now. What we're just doing is putting our future generations on a repeated record, on a broken repeated record.
Yeah, I'm actually more. I'm unfortunately, I think that we're probably headed more toward the Mussolini route with the Florida fascists than anything else. I mean, and that's a scary thought. I mean, I hope that never happps. I mean, I'm still not going to vote for the Democrats, but good Lord, I mean, this country. I mean, I as I said, I'm more scared of Ron the Groomer than I am of Trump, and I call him the Groomer. Accused Ron DeSantis of grooming. I'm like, I'm going to try to let that stick. So just let that stick as an accusation.
Right. No, I completely agree with you because that's when I started agreeing with a lot of Republicans during when Trump was in office. They, the Democrats were all screaming, we need to impeach Trump. We need to impeach Trump. And I'm like, do you guys not realize who his vice president is? Like, I'm more worried about his vice president being the leader of this country than I'm worried about fucking Trump. Okay, Mr. Apprentice, Mr. You're fired. What he's going to go through, committee people like he does underwear and nothing's ever going to get done. I'm sorry, but with the vice president as his vice president pick as our president, way worse. We would have, oh my God, it would have been so bad.
Yeah. Pence was one hand, he was a normie Republican, but on the other hand, he was a bad kind of normie Republican. I mean, the whole evangelical, anti, not that Trump is great on that issue, but I mean, but he's certainly not the evangelical anti-gay hating type that Pence is and everything. And he he's neocon. I mean, everything that was just horrible about the Republican Party from the Bush Cheney era was represented with Mike Pence, and is represented with Ron DeSantis.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Without the comedy show. Without the comedy show.
Yeah, without the comedy show. So just really quick, I want to show you. I don't know if you've ever seen this before. I always show this when I'm trying to talk about Democrats and Republicans, because this just is a really good visual representation of what at least I and a lot of people see what the Democrat and Republican Party is together. So here's what I see. So this is called the ratchet effect. Have you ever seen this before?
Actually, I am familiar with the ratchet effect. Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. So anybody that doesn't know, this is how you're being duped by the fake two-party system. So if you look right here, this is the machine, the mechanism that they use to kind of represent this. So Republicans are turning everything to the right. So they always continue. You look at what just happened with Roe v. Wade, look at what's happening with the gay rights, and look at what's happening with trans rights right now and all this stuff. So Republicans turn everything to the right, and then Democrats are these little blocker right here, and they block anything that goes to the left. So they never actually turn this wheel to the left. All they ever do is just keep, I thought you guys would be able to see my marker. Sorry. All they ever do is just keep things where they're at when Republicans like to turn things more to the right. And so, this is kind of just a visual representation of how I feel like the Republicans and Democrats are. And I obviously know, not like saying Democrats are good or anything, but I know that, for everything, it's not just about the ratchet effect, but just the majority in politics definitely feels like that. That's how it feels.
Yeah, when the earliest sign of that concept of the ratchet effect, and I wasn't thinking of it in terms of the ratchet effect, but in the early 90s, I was just thinking during the first year and a half of the Clinton presidency, I was like, wait a minute, where's this change that, why does it still feel like Reagan and Bush are in charge? And it's because he's never really aggressively tried to put an end to it. In spite of a Democratic majority in Congress and all of that, and they're not going to do any fundamental changes. I mean, you can see it right now with Biden. They're not even talking about. They're not talking about any of the even the lukewarm things that Biden promised he was going to do. He's not doing them.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely not.
Yeah. He's not doing them. And I'm not going to go and cheerlead Biden when Biden is not doing his job or what have you. But the thing about it, when it comes to people I know with the projection, I'm talking about people that I personally know. Conservatives think that I am a Biden cheerleader, and a lot of the shitlibs that I know think I'm a closet Trump supporter, and I'm just kind of because they don't understand my political perspectives.
Yep, same. I hear the same all the time. Yeah, and it's from both sides too. One side I'm a Republican, and the other side, I'm a what is it, a snowflake liberal.
So. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just kind of how in the world can both sides be so fundamentally wrong about my positions?
Right, exactly. Yep. No, I completely agree. I agree. All right, so should we get started on the news?
Sure.
All right. So let's see what I got up first. So I guess this weekend, I believe, the ICC issued an arrest warrant to Putin, which was, I heard it, from what I've seen, it's kind of funny to see. So let's bring this up. So it says right here in the description, ICC issues arrest warrant for Putin. Oh no, this isn't the right one. Oh no. Let's see if we can find. It's always going to be mainstream media stuff. Yep, of course it is. All right, let's do it. I like to watch the news with it anyway because I like to sit here and stop and talk shit about what they're saying. Can you hear that?
I think so.
Okay.
To the war in Ukraine and Russian President Vladimir Putin making an unannounced visit to Crimea for the 9th anniversary of the area's annexation. It comes just one day after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant accusing him of war crimes. ABC's James Longman from Ukraine tonight.
A defiant Vladimir Putin today visiting occupied Crimea to mark 9 years since Russia annexed the peninsula. But this was a visit by a wanted man. Friday's arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court hanging over him. The court says Putin's alleged deportation of thousands.
Yeah, exactly, Ed. The International Criminal Court, who the U.S. and Israel do not recognize their actions unless it's someone else. Exactly. Because I thought recently they said that USA was doing causing human rights violations too, and it wasn't on the news or anything. But I swear, man, Putin, they do it for Putin. That's it. And from what I remember too, or from what I've been hearing, they did the same thing with Gaddafi, like we were saying earlier, with Gaddafi and the leader of Saddam Hussein. There we go. And look at what happened to them. So, we're like really trying to murder leaders of countries because we don't like them.
What's so weird about Gaddafi is that, when his government was toppled, look what replaced it. It's slavery now. And when Gaddafi was in power, I'm not saying he was a saint, but he actually gave up his chemical weapon programs and biological weapons programs, and he was actually cooperating with the West going after actual bad guys after 9/11 to the point where even George W. Bush got the State Department to lift Libya off the list of quote unquote terrorist states. So there is that, and Libya was like one of the most prosperous countries on the African continent. Universal health care, guaranteed universal basic income, broad-based prosperity for the people.
He was trying to socialize his country. He was trying to nationalize everything and socialize. And we didn't like that. We didn't want that. We wanted a part of it. Now it's just a bunch of rivaling gang territories in that country and slave trade.
It was a socialism kind of based off of Tito's model of Yugoslavia, and it was an example, and I think that they were scared that the African continent might have caught on to that particular model, but it's a model that worked in Yugoslavia, and it appeared to be working in Libya, and I think that they were scared of that.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish watching this.
Iranian children to Russia amounts to a war crime. President Biden supporting the evidence.
Well, I think it's justified, but the question is, it's not recognized internationally by us either. But I think it makes a very strong point. He's clearly committed war crimes.
Putin today saying nothing about...
As he never says anything about his own war crimes.
Biden voted for the war in Iraq, and and the United States got a lot of to account for when it comes to crimes against humanity.
Yep.
Yeah.
About those serious charges, we've seen here poking around a Crimean art school. But here in the east, in the cover of darkness, a Ukrainian special drone unit heads out towards the front lines. The team works fast, only using minimal light. They don't want to alert Russian reconnaissance. This is the Punisher, a fixed-wing drone assembled in minutes.
The crucial difference with this drone is it can fly so much further. It can fly deep behind enemy lines, and it can carry more ordnance. Take a look at this. This bomb, this is 2 pounds worth of explosives.
The Punisher can fly up to 40 miles. Drone missions like these are critical to support frontline troops. And as these videos from the Ukrainian military show, they aim to hit ammunition stores, artillery positions, even suspected leadership locations.
The fighting where we were has quieted in recent weeks. Intelligence reports suggest Russia is running low on ammunition and manpower. Now, it might be that Vladimir Putin asks President Xi of China to help with this military campaign when he visits Moscow on a state visit next week. But we'll have to see whether the Chinese leader wants to help a man with an arrest warrant hanging over him.
Of course the Chinese government is going to help him because they fucking hate America. I swear to God, these guys, man, they're absolutely ridiculous. So what we were talking about earlier with the Gaddafi thing, I was looking for it while the video was up. Russell Brand actually showed it this morning. So this is a speech that was given by Gaddafi right after they had the leader of Iraq murdered.
Hussein, we all remember that moment. Check it.
ليش ما يكون في تحقيق في مقتل صدام حسين؟ قيادة عربية بالكامل تقتل تشنق في المشانق مع نتفرج لماذا؟ وممكن الدور جاي عليكم كلكم. نعم.
Like what he's going to say, which I completely freaking agree with him, is what he's going to say is he was sitting there, Gaddafi was telling them, like, you all could be next. You know, like, how can you even just sit here on the sidelines while America hangs Saddam Hussein when you all could be next? And then the crowd just starts laughing at him and probably not even realizing that he was next.
Pretty much, yeah. And you know, and Saudi Arabia is actually one of the worst actors in the entire region, and that's the one country historically, the United States have actually coddled, and they're at the pulse of, you know, terrorism against the West all these years. And you know, as I said, I'm no fan of any country in the Middle East, you know, Israel or Saudi Arabia or Iran or any of these countries. I don't support any of these countries in the Middle East. But here's the thing: I mean, some countries are worse than others, and Saudi Arabia is one of the worst countries in that region, and that's the one country that the United States, by golly, that they go and coddle to death.
They do.
Yeah.
And then you hear, like, you know, how, you know, Russia illegally annexed Crimea and all that other stuff. But like, you know, I'm not Les Bones, and some people are going to love this. I'm not a super fan or anything like that, you know, like a stalker or a lover of Jimmy Dore, but he's the only person that I found that was able to find this video. And I guess I didn't look at Twitter. I should have looked up the Twitter right here for it. But this guy went out to an NBC journalist, Keir Simmons, went to Crimea and reported that Crimeans are pro-Russian. Now Ukraine has put him on a hit list website for reporting this fact. So this guy actually went out to Crimea itself and talked to the people to see who they wanted their leader to be. And now Ukraine, I don't know, I'm pretty sure you guys have heard before, if you guys listen to any kind of real independent journalism, that Ukraine has a hit list of people that, you know, they put against them. There's children on this hit list, just kids, like absolute children. It's ridiculous. But so this guy has actually been put on his hit list because he went out as a journalist, went to Crimea and asked the people who their leader was. And then this is what the people said.
So you want to see here?
Is Crimea Russian or Ukrainian?
Russian,
Crimea is Russian.
Да.
Of course, Russian. 73-year-old Praksovia tells me Zelensky will not get Crimea back because we have our commander-in-chief, Putin. Every one of them told us that they are Russian and that if President Zelensky thinks Ukrainian forces can come here, they will fight them. President Zelensky has said that the Ukraine war started here and it will end here, but no one was able to tell us how it will end and how much more blood will be spilt.
So for launch, so that what that shows is that the propaganda is propaganda, that the people who say that Crimea was taken over violently or against their will by Russia is not true. And so for doing that report, that guy was put on the kill list by the Ukrainian government.
Right. So that's what happened with that guy. And what did all those people say? So
yeah, they're glad to be Russian, and that's the thing right there. The dirty little secret is that there's the ethnic Russians are treated like second class citizens in the Ukraine itself. I mean, they can sit there and talk about, Russia being less than ideal when it comes to democratic rights. But look at the Ukraine. There's less democratic rights in the Ukraine objectively than there is in Russia. I mean, banning 13 political parties, banning news networks, things of that nature, banning the Russian Orthodox Church, treatment of the LGBTQ that is worse than it is in Russia, which is an Eastern European thing. Nothing against Eastern Europeans, but that's a cultural thing in Eastern Europe. Objectively, all this is going on, and even the first lady of Zelensky demanding that the Web Summit in Portugal demand to ban the gray zone last year. And having Vladimir Zelensky demanding the U.S. government to put Rand Paul, Glenn Greenwald, and Tulsi Gabbard on a blacklist. I mean, I'm not exactly the most patriotic person in the world, but how dare another country tells this country who to put on a blacklist?
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it as I said, and I get we're gonna get called pro Putin and pro Russia and all of that, and objectively, when me and my friends interviewed Scott Ritter about 2 weeks ago, I mean, he was right what he says. I mean, everything that's going on in the Ukraine, they kind of brought it on themselves, but so did the U.S. and NATO. I mean, and it's not that Russia's wonderful and sweet and spice and everything nice, but they were their hand was forced into this. And it didn't have to be this way.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree. And then speaking also of them wanting to arrest someone, they're also saying that Trump is probably, I don't believe it, but probably going to be arrested tomorrow. So,
oh gosh.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I love how the Democrats go after and arrest people. That's what they do. They just spend so much money on courts and committees and research for trying to indict someone. They do so much of this bullshit, but when Republicans want something done, they just find an assassination person to assassinate people.
Well, I mean, the thing about Trump is if you're going to go and arrest Trump, and I know it's in New York, it's the Stormy Daniels situation and all that. They're trying to find anything and everything and anything under the sun against Trump. But if you're going to go after Trump, I mean, I would say, even though this is a foreign policy issue, go after Bush and Cheney and John Bolton first. I mean, honestly, they need to be sought after first.
Yep, I agree. So with obviously I'm going to put Russell Brand on this one. We're actually going to watch a little bit of him talking about this. So if you want to see if I'm standing anyone right now in this present moment, it's Russell Brand. I fucking love this guy. I don't know why. He's amazing. I bought his book about 2 years ago, one of his books about 2 years ago, and I've been in love with what he has to say ever since. And I just love that he's getting a lot of traction, especially this last week or two. Holy shit, is he getting so much traction? And I'm loving every second of it. I've seen his YouTube channel go from 12,000 people to over almost 7 million subscribers on his YouTube channel now. And he is pretty much the person that is making Rumble succeed. He's keeping Rumble alive single-handedly. All right, let's see about the Trump thing.
I think maybe as well as watching us, you watch mainstream media, you can see how mainstream media will report on this. The assumption of authority is baked into their presentation. Have a look at this crazy bit of reporting.
Yep.
You'd never know anything was wrong in Donald Trump's world. The former president in Oklahoma rallying a crowd at a wrestling.
Well, how would you at that point know that there was something wrong in Donald Trump's world? I mean, what should he do? Nervously shuffle off that plane? It's not like how Joe Biden does. Like there should be at least one accident descending the stairs. Oh, look, Donald Trump today looked besieged by doubt as he descended. It's amazing to have everything he owns, it's got a name written on it. That must be good for your self-esteem.
It must be.
If you look at a tower, Trump. If you look at even like your notepads, Trump. I mean, even if you see sort of like, have you ever had headed notepaper before in your life?
Oh, I'd like that.
Brilliant. We'll get you some. We'll get you some for Christmas. We'll get you some sooner. Let's have a look at this. Rest of this
tournament. If Trump is worried
about a wrestling tournament, I mean, what an incredible life he's living. He's being president. He's getting off a jet. He's at a wrestling tournament. He's being indicted. The thing that's interesting, though, about this indictment, of course, is that it appears to be for the misuse of campaign funds, which, if you think about it, is really similar to the Democrat Party situation with the Steele dossier that they funded. So let's have a look.
Sorry. That was a part that I forgot that I wanted to mention too, was the Steele dossier as well. Like, why did nothing ever happen with that? You know, we ended up finding out that was a fake. Why didn't somebody get, you know? And just so you guys know, Stormy went to the meeting the other day and on a Zoom call and talked to the committee and stuff like that. Like, they make it seem to be like it's this big show-stopping thing that people are stopping their lives to partake in and stuff. Like they're making it seem like Donald Trump is acting nonchalant, like he doesn't care. Of course, he's living his goddamn life. Like the other day while Stormy was, you know, in the meeting and all that stuff and talking to him on Zoom, it was an in-between break of doing a porn. So, you know, like they still are out there living their fucking lives right now. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it just and what they're doing, they're just giving him, they're just going to make him more of a sympathetic figure by doing this. I mean, that's what they're doing. I mean, that's what it's going to be doing in the long run. I mean, I'm telling you, the liberal elites have done him the biggest favor in the world.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. They're just giving him more clout, more, you know, more TV screen time for when he's running for president, just like they did in 2016, where they had the empty podium for an hour waiting for Trump to come out. That shit was so annoying and boring. So yeah, and right, like what OG Snowbone says at Twitch, it's a misdemeanor at worst. Yeah, as of right now, it's technically just a misdemeanor. So, you know, it's just so crazy how they're making it so much bigger than it seems to be, or than what it's right. Like, he's allowed to, you know, now if he's using campaign funds to pay Stormy off, then whatever, you know, that's obviously illegal. But him paying off a woman to keep her quiet, you know, even though he did stuff with her while his wife was pregnant, I don't know. I just don't see, like, it's not that big of a deal to me. I don't know, but I'm Team Stormy, so my opinions differ than a lot of people. So
yeah, I mean, I just think that there's, to me, there's bigger fish to fry. I think they need to focus more on DeSantis than they do Trump, because Trump is incompetent. I mean, you know, if Trump gets back in there, he's incompetent. I feel like this is just a show, like a pony show or something, just so they can keep making money. Like, I feel like they're just throwing all this money at this stuff just so they can have all this extra committee assignment profits. Well, I think that the media really do hate the guy, but they also love him at the same time because he makes them money. You know, and the Democratic leadership, they don't care if they're the minority party. They can fundraise off of Trump, and that's all they care about.
Right.
You know, they don't care. You know, they they can just get rid of those pesky issues like Medicare for all and the Green New Deal and they could just sit there and say, you know, it could keep, you know, they're like, well, we can keep Bernie and AOC quiet, which they have successfully, unfortunately, have done. But, you know, I mean, you know, just it all works out for these folks.
And you're right, absolutely, Shake and Bacon. From what I have heard from the inside, that him and Melania have not shared a bed since their son was born. So they don't even share the same room. They sleep in separate rooms. Sometimes even separate houses in separate states. Like they never share a bed, ever. So, that's between them two, but just to even show more, of how big they're making it out to be compared to what it really is. Like, sorry, but him and Melania haven't slept in the same bed in a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, I think they'll probably be separated in a few years.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
She seems pretty loyal, and I don't fault her for that,
Yeah. Yeah, and I just think that, as I said, I think that he's incompetent and everything, and so the bigger fish to fry is DeSantis, and
Right.
and even what's his name from Due Dissidence, what's the older guy's name, Russell Dobular. I can now pronounce his name correctly. Russell Dobular said that watch out for DeSantis because DeSantis is a bigger problem.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
OG Snowboat says Melania is just as much a transaction as Stormy. Yes, I don't like to say that a lot, but you know what? It is 2023, and it is a lot normal and normalized than it used to be. So yes, Melania is a sugar baby. Of course, she's always been. She has the kid. She got what she needed. I'm pretty sure in my head, from what I know of their relationship and the sugar baby and the sugar daddy culture, is that Trump is getting to an age right now where he's probably not going to last very much longer. Melania knows that she's not in her young little peak, phase anymore. She's not in her 20s anymore. So it's probably going to be a little bit harder for her to get another sugar daddy if she leaves Trump. So I figure my best guesstimate, and this is just my guess, is that she's probably going to stay with him until he dies, because that's just what you do, what was that one in the 1990s, 2000s, Nicole something?
Oh yeah, I remember her. Her husband was like in his 90s, wasn't it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So when these sugar daddies hit a certain age, you usually know as a sugar baby, you've got about 10 to 15 years left, and you can hold and wait out for that long. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and he lived off of Big Macs and
Taco Bell.
yeah, he's not exactly in the best peak health out there. So
yeah, Anna Nicole Smith. Thank you, Ed. Yeah, there's our resident celebrity genius over here. Man, I thought I was smart about all this stuff, and he just comes out with knowing everything. He's such a G. DeSantis is actually a competent politician. That's the most dangerous kind. Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of the same fear that I had with Mike Pence when he was, vice president too. I have that same, it's that classic Republican that I worry about, what used to be like the Bush Republican, the Reagan Republican, that shit scares the freak out of me. I hate it.
Yeah, me too. Yes. And that's, the normie Republicans is what's scary, because the normie Republicans can actually get things done because that they appear so normal.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
They're the homegrown country boy. We bring our country back to the way that it was. Yeah. All right, let's finish watching this.
Okay, just side by side, because I guess the real question is not put aside your prejudices for a moment.
Like this little side by side that he put right here. So it's claimed Trump concealed alleged hush payments that were supposedly used to violate federal election laws using legal expenses. So he pretty much paid a girl to keep quiet about her affair with him. So he used donations from voters in his campaign to pay her off. Trump claims he will be arrested on Tuesday. So that's the Trump thing. And then so here's a side by side with Hillary. Says Hillary Clinton was fined by the Federal Elections Commission, the FEC, for funding the Steele dossier using legal expenses. Okay. So she uses legal funds to actually fund this Steele dossier, which was like a report of how Russia was stealing the elections, which we come to find out that they were using Twitter accounts that had 50 followers. Pretty much nobody's on Twitter, and they were using those as the influencers of the stolen election. For Hillary. And then Hillary Clinton was never arrested. I just really like that side-by-side comparison of what's really happening.
Hillary Clinton, she's very corrupt herself, and she ended up, what made me so mad about her loss was she she was made to look like a victim, during before he was sworn in. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, we're talking about somebody who's worth $250 million, Hillary Clinton. And I'm like, okay, he's a billionaire. She's on her way to, she's not a billionaire, but she's certainly not uncomfortable financially. And why are people making a victim out of these folks? They don't care about any of us. None of them.
Nope.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Maybe you really like Donald Trump. Maybe you do not like Donald Trump. In a sense, I think one way of achieving objectivity and a relationship with your inner principles is to somehow regard the object just as a catalyst. Say, for example, during all of the controversies around the pandemic, if you could forget about the object itself and just think, how is power behaving? Is there a wealth transfer? Is there censorship? Does there appear to be an agenda? You can just interrogate yourself and conduct your own investigation. Obviously, that doesn't mean that what we do on our own is going to be of a higher standard than what academia can achieve, but we have to recognize that a lot of interests have been bought out, that there's a lot of bias and prejudice in media, in academia, in politics, in government. In fact, government is founded now on corruption. That's
I keep doing that to myself. I hate doing that. So that's what I really like right here that he says. Pretty much the main gist of what he's saying right there is, whenever you're watching mainstream media and you're watching what they're saying, take a step back and ask, why are they doing that? Because they're very picky and choosy about what they want you to see, and there's usually an agenda or a motive behind it. They want you to see what they want you to see, and they don't want you to see what they don't want you to see. So it's up to you as yourself as a watcher to sit back, and I like to ask the questions, the 5 questions, or the whatever, the who, what, where, when, why. I love asking those questions when I watch mainstream media, because usually I can get a couple of the answers really quick, like who's reporting, why are they reporting, what are they, I can get the what done or the who done, but it gets to the why are they reporting this is where you really start to get into the gist of it. So always, when you're always watching any kind of mainstream media show and they're doing some kind of reporting on some special breaking news or any kind of news period, always ask yourself, why are they doing this?
Absolutely. And you got to watch it with a critical eye. And that's, and I will watch, that's what I'll do. I'll watch it with a critical eye. And I guess, ask why are they doing this? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's the biggest one, is why for me.
That's the founding principle, isn't it? That they are funded by, lobbied by, own stocks and shares in corporations that receive favorable treatment and indeed legislation. That we all understand at this point, and quibbling about the small differences between the parties is all that's left for us, and that's what we're calling democracy. And even this potential impending arrest of Trump is another example of that, because look, it's claimed Trump concealed alleged hush payments that were supposedly used to violate federal election laws using legal expenses. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to use legal expenses.
Key phrase, legal expenses, yeah.
Okay, so Clinton was fined by the Federal Election Commission for funding the Steele dossier using illegal expenses.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Seems pretty similar. It's just doesn't sound as dodgy, does it?
It's not so salacious. Correct. Because Trump's one has a porn star in it, and that one's got a dossier. A dossier. And dossiers famously require sexing up, like the dossier that was used to underwrite the illegal invasion of Iraq, where specifically the then head of spin doctory, Alistair Campbell, said, we better sex up that dossier, i.e. make it sound like there's definitely weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Spoiler alert. Agreed,
Shake and Vacant. Yeah, that's kind of like the second part of what he was just saying right here. Russell was just saying why often goes back to who's paying them to push the narrative, who's their lobbyists, who are their funders. And you're very right. Watch the commercials. And that's something that I definitely don't do, because I only watch little, clips on YouTube that they put up about a specific topic. So I don't normally watch the commercials. I don't see commercials on TV anymore. But yeah, definitely if you have commercials, watch. And that's really funny too. I think there was some kind of musical, really quick, let me stop the screen. That reminds me, there was a musical, I believe, how like some recently in the last 10 years or so, they've been putting live musicals on TV for us to watch. So we have to watch it at that time while it's live, but it's a musical. They'll do like Wicked or the Oz, different ones, but like that. I think it was a musical that was only playing in America, and the UK wanted to be able to see it. So they played it on a separate time, but or no, I think they were able to play it during the time that we were, but they had to watch it through like the the American lens. So they had to watch our commercials that went along with the show and stuff. They couldn't cut that all out. And it went viral on Twitter. Like there was this big old hoopla on Twitter, especially from people in UK that were like, I have never seen this many pharmaceutical ads in my entire fucking life. Like, how do you guys even watch TV without being bombarded with ads all the time? And that's exactly what it is like, you know, you can enjoy that musical, but know that, you know, all those commercials that you're watching, that's who they're funded by. That's why they get those ad spots. They pay for it.
Yeah, it's just just even on YouTube alone, I mean, you just get bombarded with ads all the time and everything, and I mean, it makes you that's why people have to buy an ad blocker to bypass all that.
Yeah, I got really lucky and my friend paid for premium, and I guess when you pay for YouTube premium, you can have like 5 members on there with it to add to it. So I got added to my friend's premium. So I don't get to watch YouTube commercials at all. So I have no idea what commercials. That's why it's really hard for me to pick and choose whether or not I'm going to get copyright striked or copyright warning on my stuff, is because I don't see the commercials. So I don't know, you know, which ones are monetized and which ones aren't, and you know, who's big and all that stuff that people would normally do get to recognize when they watch all the commercials and stuff. I don't get to see all that. So I have no idea.
Oh, yeah. You're lucky.
Right.
Yeah,
I got very, very, very lucky. I got into my friend's premium account about 4 or 5 months ago, and I've just been spoiled ever since. It's nice.
How much is it anyway? Oh, your friend's account.
Yeah, I have no idea. I should probably give him some money though to hooking it up. But yeah, I have no clue, no idea. But you get to have up to 5 friends. So I mean, if you and like 4 other friends want to like pitch in every month or for the year or something, you know, that'd probably bring it down to a pretty decent amount between you and 4 other people.
Oh, yeah, I may look into that. I may very well look into that.
Right. All right, let's get back to what he's talking about. Sorry, you guys. Here, I'm going to set it to a little bit faster speed because these humans talk too slow for me.
And I don't like using that phrase. There were no weapons of mass destruction found in Iraq. I tell you, no one sexed up the Steele dossier. It was so sex that up a bit. It's boring as all hell. What they did is Russia it up. Yeah.
I'm not bougie, you guys. I'm not fancy. I just have friends, and I'm not afraid of asking.
Sound like there had been collusion.
Remember the old school saying, "A closed mouth never gets fed."
What's interesting about this as well is who has the power to make those arrests and on whose behalf do they operate. You'll be aware by now that the ICC have issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. That seems like a sort of very mute.
Okay, so he's getting into the Putin part now too. So yeah, that's really interesting about the whole Trump being arrested. Obviously, I really don't think that anything's going to happen. I mean, like they were saying in the comment section earlier, it's just a misdemeanor. So I really don't think then anything's really going to happen to him. Plus the fact that he's really, really rich. Usually they could just pay themselves to get out of things like that. I know that his attorney or whatever that's speaking right now, I can't remember his name either. He was in jail for a couple of years, but you know, that's kind of like very rare that actually happens.
Yeah. He's with anybody. I mean, honestly, if they go after him, I mean, they're going to have to go after a lot of other people. So I think a lot of it's a dog and pony show too. There's that as well. What I'm a little worried about is a violent outcome. That's what I'm worried about. You know, some of the unhinged supporters. I'm a little concerned about that, because it could mean a crackdown on civil liberties. There is that question.
Yeah, that's
like a little bit of a repeat of January 6th. I'm a little concerned about something along those lines.
Yeah, but I mean, I know it was like really bad and people died and stuff, but isn't that their right to be able to do that? I mean, isn't that in like one of our amendments in like the Constitution? I think it's in our First Amendment part of free speech that if the government isn't doing the will of the people, that it's our right to fight back. I mean, I don't think it said rioting per se, but you know, we have a right to say that this isn't fair and, you know, they need to start representing us. And this is kind of the way that people have always done it. I don't know. Like, I know that January 6th was all bad, but I can't just look at it as all bad, because I feel like that's kind of our right, you know, to protest against a government that's not representing its people.
Oh no, no, no! I'm okay. I don't have a problem with the steal the stop the steal rally in itself and all that. I'm talking about the part where they were talking about hang Mike Pence and all of that part. Things.
Yeah, those people. Yeah, the crazy one,
Yeah,
the psycho ones.
the
Yeah,
really unhinged ones that took it to excess and all of that. That's what I'm worried about, taking it to that level.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Shake and Bacon says Patriot Friend is going to be busy recruiting tomorrow. What's going on tomorrow? Interesting. Les Bones says that I'm friends with Stormies. I've never been to Mar-a-Lago. I'm friend. Yes, whatever. But I'm not friends with Stormy because she's famous or anything. I kind of knew Stormy before all this stuff happened. So
Oh,
kind
you
of
did?
weird. Yeah.
Oh.
I've known Stormy frick since 2013, 2012. So
Oh, wow.
before all this. Yeah, it's been kind of weird to see all the stuff that's been happening. So just seeing your friend that, is just famous for porn and that's it, go from like that to being famous in normal stuff. It was kind of weird. I definitely would text her a lot and be like, "Are you cool? Like, you good?" This is fucking weird seeing you all over the place.
Oh, that's amazing. To be to know somebody on that magnitude like that. Wow.
Yeah. She's still a regular person, so that's how I see her. Hard to stop a riot when the cops are waving in the protesters. Yeah, and we were seeing a lot of that too. A lot of the cops were just like, "Yeah, just go in, whatever." Trump arrest is supposed to happen. Yeah, that's what they're saying is supposed to happen tomorrow. So we'll just definitely keep an eye on it and see what happens. Speaking of riots, so when tell me what you think of when I say this word, France.
Well, I'm thinking about the protests right now against the Macron's austerity measures.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
These guys, to me, I swear, this country, these people are just badasses. I really, really, really wish our country would be as cool as these guys. Yeah, exactly, Anthony. Tomorrow's going to be fun and interesting. We'll see. We'll keep our eye on it. I'll definitely be live streaming probably around the time that shit is going on. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so France. So in Paris, France, or just in France, one aspect that this is kind of funny to me because I don't think they're just only protesting against this, but what they're saying is that the French people are protesting against these pensions. So what they're wanting to do is raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. So all they're saying that they're protesting over 2-year expansion of your pension. But I'm thinking that it's not just that, because they're saying that, okay, so what they're saying in here, I believe, is that it didn't go through not committee, but like the commons. So because they kind of have like the monarchy with like the parliament and stuff. So it didn't go through a voting group. They like skirted it through to be able to vote for it. And if it doesn't pass today, then Macron could possibly be ousted as the president, is I guess the what could happen if this doesn't pass, because something big is going on over there. I think the people are just getting sick and tired of it. So this is kind of the Sun's version of that. But I do want to show some other protests from earlier. They're showing this from 9 months ago, or 5 months ago, but I swear it's sooner.
Paris became the battleground late Thursday as police tried to quell angry protesters after the French government pushed through an unpopular pensions bill without a vote. As the French Prime Minister announced in Parliament she would trigger special constitutional procedures to enact the reforms. A crowd of around 7,000 people gathered opposite the Parliament across the River Seine in a spontaneous protest. Some people flung cobblestones at the authorities, who responded with tear gas and water cannon. Fires burned in the streets nearby, and cars were set alight. West of Paris, in the city of Nantes, black-clad protesters shielding themselves with umbrellas faced off against riot police. They retreated as the gas thickened, but not before they left behind determined messages saying, "Let us destroy what destroys us." Opinion polls show the pension reform plans pushed by President Emmanuel Macron's centrist government are deeply unpopular. The bill calls for a higher retirement age of 64, 2 years more than what it was, which the government says is essential to make sure the pension system does not go bust. Left-wing opposition parties say the pension overhaul is unfair and unnecessary, while far-right politicians such as Marine Le Pen have seized upon the government's move to skip a vote to force the bill through, calling it.
Yeah, so right there they were saying skip a vote to force it through. What's really crazy and funny, oh, there goes Willy. What's really crazy to me is the fact of what they were saying right here, that there's not enough that they're worried about the, money and stuff, that there's not enough money to be able to pay people their pension, so that's why they have to raise the age of it. But it's really interesting to me because, for one, isn't France monetarily sovereign? And even if they are still backed by gold, don't you think the amount of mining that they're forcing Africans to do for gold and then give it to them so that way African countries can use the francs in as place of their currency, it wouldn't, even if France is still backed by gold, that they have enough gold to back up because they're stealing it from Africa. So I don't see why they're sitting here saying that there's, I understand gold is limited, but it just doesn't make any sense to me how you're going to say, like, we have to raise the age 2 years for your pension because we are afraid that we can't afford it anymore, when you're out there in like the biggest continent, one of the biggest continents in the world, and just stealing all of their gold. You've been doing it for years, hundreds of years. It's wild to me how they use these examples instead of the real ones.
With regard to the raising of the age, there's no reason to do that. And I'm sorry, I walked away for a second. I got interrupted. So what were you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh, they were talking about how that they needed to raise the pension age to 2 years because they're afraid they're going to run out of money, and that's the reason why Le Pen is going for it and the people are fighting against it. So I was just trying to say, like, the things that I realized, like, why is France complaining about losing money when they're monetarily sovereign, for one, and then they're also stealing gold from African countries by forcing them to mine it? And Ed says that France is part of the European Union, so it's using the euro, but isn't some African countries still using the franc?
I would imagine maybe some of the countries that were former colonies may use the franc, possibly. I would imagine, but
or maybe it used to. Maybe I'm just reading about history, and then it's no longer that. I know that they used to do that. So
well, that's correct, because now they're using the euro. That's a good question. That's a good point. Oh my gosh, that is a good point. So maybe they're using their own version of a franc, I guess you could say.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's a good point. You're gonna make me have to go into that and look that, and
I'm gonna have to look into it. That's something good to look into and all that. But I will say this: that there's no reason for the French to do this. 1981, I mean, they decided to raise the minimal the Social Security age from 62 to 67. I mean, you still can draw your Social Security at 62, but it's like a partial one, which is what I'm going to do. No, that's just wrong. And I mean, and the difference between how they do it in France and the U.S. is, even when they do austerity measures in France, is a little more gentle than the kind that they do in the United States. But I got to admit, they don't put up with it in France. The people will be like, they'll be like, the hell you're going to do this? And I'm glad that the French sits there and draw the line in the sand. The British, they kind of had a little bit in them, but unfortunately, Margaret Thatcher beat them into submission. So with this, with the strike against, the strikes that were going on during her early years, I mean, she did unfortunately defeat these strikers, but at least they did give her a headache in the 80s.
Okay. So thank you, Ed. Ed just gave me this really good link. and I was able to snatch it up really quick. So here are countries that are still using the francs. They're all African countries. It says that it is a unit of currency comparable to the US dollar and the pound and the rupee. They don't, he was right, they don't use the francs anymore. They're part of the European Union, so they use the euro, but 22 countries and 3 territories are still using a unit of currency directly denominated in francs. So, and then there's those. So yeah, there are still countries that are using them. But then he was saying that, but Ed was saying also that it's Swiss francs. So is that Switzerland then that owns the countries?
I guess
Because
that,
yeah, Guinea. I remember Guinea is one of the people that have to mine for gold right now.
I guess Swiss franc. I guess that's what it is. I mean, self-explanatory. Yeah.
And see, there are different types of francs. Yeah, the West African franc, that one, the Central African franc, the Comorian franc, Congolese franc. So okay, they're different kinds. Guinea franc. So they're still francs, but they're for their own territories. Unless you're in West African areas, then then it looks like they're combining them in those territories.
Mm.
That's interesting. So African variation of the French franc, ironically, while France itself has adopted the euro, 3 of its territories, French Polynesia, New Caledonia, and Wallis and Futuna, still use the CFP franc, which was devised specifically for France's territories. France also created the CFA franc, which is used in many of its former colonies. The CFA franc exists in 2 interchangeable variations, the XOF and the XAF, which we see up here in this area. There's the XAF, there's the XOF. So yes, the French still own those countries and are making them mine for gold for them. So like I was saying, even though, okay, so you're right. So yes, even though France is using the euro, they are still forcing these countries to use their old currency denominated in their own country area, but are still making them mine for gold and sending it to France itself. So when we watch this, while we're watching this lady talk, Le Pen saying that we need to raise the age of the pensions because we're going to run out of money, even if our money was backed or their money was backed in gold, which it's not, it's the euro, which is a free floating fiat currency, then they wouldn't need to worry about it. But they're a free floating fiat currency with the euro, so they actually can print money wherever they want to, whenever they want to. Economic people are going to hate me for saying that, but just to, for the regular person who doesn't know MMT and how economics really kind of works, they're never going to run out of money. They're totally fine, and they're totally cool. So yeah, interesting. So let's continue with this. Let's see. Jesus Christ, ongoing legacy of imperialism. Hi, Desert Mantis. Yes, absolutely. Okay, Ed's going on about. I was like, what are you guys talking about hot dogs for? They're in the comment section saying that other countries have their own francs too, but they're talking about beef and ballpark. Oscar Mayer.
An extraordinary sign of weakness. Unions now call for another day of strikes and action next Thursday against the reform. France has seen weeks of unrest brought by backlash to the bill, bringing widespread disruption to train services, fuel deliveries, teachers,
all they're
and even
showing the
garbage
trash.
collectors walking off their jobs, leaving uncollected garbage rotting on the streets of Paris.
That's so funny. They just show pictures of like the trash, because we're going to be talking about that as well. So this right here, I wanted to show. This was shown 5 months ago, but I swear I saw something more recent about this. Was that they were protesting against being a part of NATO. They didn't want to be a part of NATO. Now this says 5 months ago. They were anti-NATO protests that have gripped France as the country grapples with the cost of living crisis. So they're just like protesting everything. Here's
A massive crowd of protesters marched through the center of Paris on Saturday, demanding that France radically change its stance on NATO and the EU, international media reported. The protesters have also called for the designation of the country's president, Emmanuel Macron. The demonstration reflects similar rallies being held across Europe in opposition to their respective governments' support for the war in Ukraine.
So they were wanting to end the support for Ukraine. They wanted to end with NATO. These people just are amazing. They protest everything, which is great. Here's more of France talking about what's going on internally as well with the protests that are happening there.
Clovis Casali, who joins me now live from the National Assembly in Paris, where the discussions are due to get underway around 4 p.m. French time. Clovis, first of all, talk us through what's going to be happening there today and the mechanics of these no confidence votes.
Well, you've got these two motions of no confidence put forward first by the far right, Marine Le Pen's National Rally, and then from the Lyot, the centrist group. Those two motions will be presented at the National Assembly, and then there will be a common debate. Presidents of all of the parliamentary groups will get to address MPs and explain their views, their positions regarding these votes of no confidence and why some of these parties want to see the government toppled. The government will also get a chance to defend itself, respond to the various attacks. The opposition, of course, furious at President Macron's decision to force through this pension reform and pension system reform bill, and without going through a vote at the National Assembly with that famous 49.3 article. The opposition is furious. The vote of no confidence will be taking place behind closed doors here in the rooms just behind me to my left, and then each ballot will be counted, and then we will see how the government manages to weather the storm and whether, of course, the government actually survives.
So, Clovis, how likely is it that these votes might actually go through? I mean, they don't have a very good track record in France.
Indeed. The aim of these votes of
Right,
no confidence is, of course, to topple the government. But it's all about securing 287 votes. That's the magic number. And all eyes will be on the LR politicians. The LR are these politicians, member of party, who were once led by Nicolas Sarkozy, the former French president. Emmanuel Macron decided to force through his pension reform bill because he precisely didn't think he'd managed to convince all of the LR politicians. How will they vote this time? The LR leadership has been negotiating with the government and is telling its members, do not vote this, do not take part in this vote of no confidence. I mean, do not force the government to back down and do not lead to the toppling of the government. In other words, do not add chaos to the current situation. We'll have
You hear the buzzwords that they're using. Don't add chaos to the situation. All it is Macron's going to be ousted as the leader. Woo.
Well, and what's actually scary is, Marine Le Pen was very close to the presidency this time with the recent election, and just the idea of the national rally taking over France is a scary scenario. Right. And I don't want her in charge because National Rally is a fascist party. However, austerity is not exactly a way to keep fascism away. I mean, it breeds resentment into people, and it creates this kind of environment. And this is what's going to happen. I mean, it's pretty scary, but I mean, at the same time, we need some kind of a yellow vest movement here in this country, because we sit here and we take it. But I think that America is probably more prone toward fascism than France is at this point.
Yep. Yeah. Austerity is murder. Exactly, Desert. I agree. So, like we were seeing in the last video, not the one that we just watched, but the one before, they were showing trash and stuff. So I was trying to look for stuff this morning about what was going on, other than just like what we just saw, where it's all the insider stuff, where we learned, Macron has the possibility of being ousted as the leader. But out in the mainstream news and out on the streets, all they're showing is the trash. They're saying that the trash is all over the place. You're seeing piles of trash. Nobody's picking it up. They're saying that it's gross, it's dirty. But what they're not talking about is that the workers, the trash workers, are standing with the strikers. So that's why the trash isn't getting picked up. So this is another form of protest that I'm absolutely loving about France. They really know how to stick it to people when it comes to when it comes to protesting. They really are really good with that kind of stuff. So just you don't forget, you guys, this guy's going to be these people are speaking in French, so we got to read the subtitles. So don't forget to read the subtitles when you're watching this.
Que mettre en colère, quoi. C'est vraiment un déni démocratique, et là on bafoue et la démocratie parlementaire et la démocratie citoyenne et la démocratie syndicale. Et je crois que là c'est vraiment révoltant.
Et on y restera. Il s'agit là quand même.
Et nous, ça nous fait mal au cœur de voir aussi les rues de Paris dans cet état. Notre boulot à nous, c'est que Paris soit propre partout et pour tous, pas simplement pour les Parisiens. Je rappelle quand même que la capitale de Paris, c'est la plus touristique au monde, etc.
They're just continuing to strike. That is just so cool. I love that about them.
Me too.
I love it.
Ce ne sont pas les éboueurs qui ont foutu le feu. C'est bien Macron qui a foutu le feu en mettant en place, en mettant le 49-3. S'il avait laissé le vote, qu'il a dû considérer perdu, il n'y aurait pas eu le feu à la Concorde. Ça aurait été la fête, mais pas le feu des poubelles. Puis nous, on aurait repris le boulot. On ne continuerait pas la grève aujourd'hui.
Man, that's the way to hold your country accountable right there. Like, it's Macron's fault. He try to push this through Parliament without a vote, and so we would have, if you just put it through Parliament, so we and did it the right way, we would be out here partying, and you would have trash pickup. But because you want to do it the wrong way, then no trash pickup. Sorry. So cool.
In Michael Moore's movie Capitalism: A Love Story, have you ever seen that movie?
I have not.
Yeah. In the movie, he says that in France, in America, we Americans are scared of our government, but it's the other way around in France. In France, it's usually the government, they're scared of the French people. And that's the way it should be here in this country. Unfortunately, that's not the relationship. We're scared of our government here.
Right.
All of us. I mean, left, right, and center. We're all scared of the government.
Yep. And it even says it right here in this little thing. The government says it's essential to assure the system doesn't go bust. Like I was just saying earlier, it can't go bust when it creates its own currency, just like America. This is like what, is happening with us right now. They're wanting to bring down the national debt and cut social programs and blah, blah, blah. It's just the same. They're doing the same in that country. And this is what the people are doing compared to what we're doing out here in America, which is nothing. We're just going to take it up the ass like we always do.
Yeah, we roll over and play dead in this country. I mean, we seen the union jobs leave and the manufacturing base goes, and we're like, we just lick our wounds and we think it's our fault, and we go on with our lives. I mean, and in France, they don't take that approach. Yeah, they're base. I love the French.
I know. I'm so jealous.
I've been to France. It was a little bit cleaner when I was there than it is now with the garbage. But
well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, so what do we got next? All right, so the White House this morning had a press briefing, and they decided that they were going to bring on some celebrities. I've never even heard of this show before, so whatever. This is why I kind of thought it was absolutely ridiculous that they even did this. But they brought on the cast of Ted Lasso for the White House press briefing to address mental health. Okay. Now, this is the kind of stuff that pisses me off. Like, okay, if you're a celebrity and you have an opinion on, who you want to vote for, or, what kind of president you want to get elected and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. That's your opinion, but bringing on celebrities to the White House to talk to the press about mental health is just ridiculous to me. It's kind of like the line where I kind of draw with celebrities and politicians and the mixture of the two. Like, I just don't understand how a celebrity who, acts, sits there and plays pretend and all that stuff is going to have any kind of real opinion and help on a real actual situation that people are dealing with right now, which is mental health. Lesbone says not Ted Lasso. I have never even heard of this show. I thought it was like ER or something. Is it like ER? This is interesting. And also when she starts, there's like a reporter in here. Kind of pay attention, because I don't know what this guy was wanting to talk about, but man, she just kind of like throws this reporter like under the bus and just tells him to be quiet and won't take any of his thing. So you kind of hear him kind of complaining at the beginning, and then you'll hear the celebrities talking, and then you'll hear the guy at the end. So we'll watch for two things, because I couldn't figure out what the heck this reporter was wanting to ask her. So the U.S. government's greatest propagandist tool is Hollywood. That is very, 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 very true. This is, I guess you're right. So I guess I'm just kind of just preaching to the choir of how ridiculous this stuff gets. Maybe you didn't watch this morning, and I'm showing you something new. You never know.
Yeah, right. You're right. You're here for me. For me. No. That's not. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
Wait, it's a TV show on Apple TV about an American football coach coaching a soccer team.
Oh.
What does that have to do with mental health? Nothing. I thought it was like ER or something, like where they're like nurses and doctors and stuff. So, maybe they can like throw that in there. Like it's a show like ER. So that's why we can talk about mental health. But this is a show about a coach coaching a soccer team. This is ridiculous. You just made it even more ridiculous. I'm sorry, you're over there yawning. 20 more minutes, Willie, I promise, and we'll be done.
No, I'm not bored. I just.
I know you're tired.
No, the 4 hours of sleep. It's 4 hours of sleep for me.
Yeah, I know. You got 20 more minutes. You're toughing it out. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
You've been discriminating against me and discriminating against some people in the briefing room. And I'm saying that this is the US, this is not China, this is not Russia. This is not Russia.
Okay.
What you are doing, you are making a mockery of the first amendment.
Decorum, please.
It's been 7 months. You've not called on me. You've not my messages. I'm saying that that's not right. That's not right.
On times, welcome, guys. Welcome to the press briefing room. Okay.
This is not right. Sure, let it go.
Are we ready? Are we going to behave? While many folks...
I still haven't figured out what that guy was talking about. I know he's all saying that this isn't Russia and this isn't China, and you're not giving us a chance to say something, and it's been 7 months, but I don't know what he's talking about.
It's just an opportunity just to do the smear of Russia, China allegations from the press. Probably somebody from the right-wing press saying that.
Right. Which, you won't hear CNN in a hoopla talking about this, but when, Trump was in office and all the different press briefing people he had up there, man, it was every day they would talk about every little thing that happened. Like something like this would have happened if, what's his name? God, the guy that dressed up as a bunny rabbit for Easter. I can't remember his name. He was my favorite. Glenn something, because SNL loved to bag on him so fucking bad, really bad. when he would go up there on these podiums every day, man, they would just, like I said, they'd made SNL skits out of this guy. But this girl does this stuff for Biden, and you don't ever hear anything about this. So, but yeah, there was somebody that was doing that. So here we go. Mental health, some show. Decorum, everybody.
Yes, we apologize. Yes, I apologize. I apologize. Okay, while many folks here in U.S. are focused on March Madness or the World Baseball Classic, go Team USA tomorrow night, by the way, we at the White House today are going to focus on another sport, which is soccer or football, as some of my guests might say, specifically AFC Richmond. And I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of the Believe banners that we're seeing around, that you all may be seeing around the White House complex today. It is an honor. It is truly an honor to have Coach Lasso here with us today. On a serious note, though, because this is actually very serious for the reasons that they all hear, Jason and his castmates, and there's a real message around mental health. And they are meeting with the president and the first lady, as you all know, this afternoon on this important topic. And as you know, the president has made mental health the centerpiece of his unity agenda. And I know that Jason wants to share a few words. And so, Coach Lasso, the podium is yours.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I truly did not know it was going to be this one when on the way here, not until we're out here. So thank you for taking interest. And I know you're here for bigger reasons than us. But I just want to say that on behalf of myself, everyone here with me today, and the numerous other folks that it takes to make our show, Ted Lasso, it is sincerely an honor to visit the White House and have the opportunity to speak to the president and to the first lady about the importance of mental health. So like, no matter who you are, no matter where you live, no matter who you voted for, we all probably, I assume, we all know someone who has, or have been that someone ourselves actually, that's struggled, that's felt isolated, that's felt anxious, that has felt alone, right? And it's actually one of the many things that believe it or not, that we all have in common as human beings, right? And so that means that it's something that we can all, and should talk about with one another when we're feeling that way, or when we recognize that in someone feeling that way. So please, we encourage everyone, and it's a big theme of the show, is like to check in with your neighbor, your coworker, your friends, your family, and ask how they're doing, and listen sincerely. You all ask questions for a living, but you also listen for a living. So who am I preaching to? The choir, that is. Okay. And look, and while it's easier said than done, we also have to know that we shouldn't be afraid to ask for help ourselves, and that does take a lot, especially when it's something that has such a negative stigma to it, such as mental health, and it doesn't need to be that way. And if you can ask for that help from a professional, fantastic. If it needs to be a loved one, equally as good in a lot of ways, because sometimes you just need to let that pressure valve release. The president's working on, and his own team, although his team is real, our team is make-believe. I don't know that. The people at FIFA and EA will tell you we are actually a make-believe team, but they're working very hard to make sure that that option is available to us.
Kind of proud of him for doing the self-deprecating humor about his show, but yeah, exactly, Les Bones. It is kind of funny. So stop, Les Bones. He's such a troll. She's so bad. Anyways, so it's pretty interesting that they're going to the White House to talk about mental health. Of course, leave it up to celebrities who get paid millions of dollars to be able to talk to Biden about mental health instead of, maybe, I don't know, therapists, people in the industry who actually have experience with people in mental health. That would probably have been a little bit better of a meeting for Joe Biden, but I know Joe Biden's most likely a clout chaser. So, we got to let him chase his clout for a celebrity TV show.
I don't know. The problem with having Hollywood people in general, they have a right to speak their minds on any given issue, but I just kind of wish that they wouldn't sometimes, because I don't know. I just think that people, when a lot of them do, no matter what side of the fence they're politically on, they don't articulate their points well for the most part. Most of them don't, and they just I don't know, just does something to the political discourse. Just makes it just more gaudy, I guess.
Right. Yep,
yeah,
I agree. Pittsburgh dude 87 says, is this Jason Sudeikis speaking as himself or Ted Lasso? I have no idea. I've never seen this show. I've never even heard of it. So does Joe Biden's mental decline count as mental health problems? Right. I love this audience. I don't know if I want to watch the rest of this bullshit.
Now look, I know in this town, a lot of folks don't always agree, right? And don't always feel heard, seen, listened to, yes? But I truly believe that we should all do our best to help take care of each other. That's my own personal belief. I think that's something that everybody up here on stage believes in. That's things we talk about in the writer's room, we talk about in the editing room, and everything in between. And just like, you just want to emulate, these make-believe folks that we all play at AFC Richmond and the way they take care of one another. That is the wish fulfillment of the show, aside from me playing coach and these guys being professional footballers. That's like, that's a big part of the show. Now, I can't help but take this opportunity to take at least one question. So please, yeah. Wait, hold on here. Decorum, right? That was the word we were using, decorum? Yes, sir. Familiar face. Hi. Fake journalist.
Right. So then he takes questions. I don't really care about it. I know he's such a troll. You haven't seen Ted Lasso either? Okay. Okay, so I got one last story to cover, and I had to take it. Oh, I thought it was The Hill. Whatever, same people. It was from Breaking Points. I had to take the clips because I know it's Jon Stewart versus Larry Summers on Socialism for the Rich. And I know for sure that they're probably going to strike us or content warning, whatever us, if we don't do it the right way. So I had to take the two little clips that is from Breaking Points and just use theirs in hopes that they don't do something to us. So we'll watch the two clips that they have and then we'll talk about them ourselves instead of listening to, the Breaking Points people talk about it.
Economy that could only produce so much. We had huge levels of demand, and those huge levels of demand kept pushing up prices and pushing up wages. But ultimately, it was you put too much water in the bathtub overflows. You put too much demand into the economy, and you get high and rising prices.
But the San Francisco Fed says that is demand is maybe 30 to 35% of the inflation. Wages are really around 20% of the inflation. There's a huge corporate profit aspect to it. There's a huge supply chain aspect to it. But our method for controlling it seems really much more focused on wages and employment.
There's certain sicknesses you can have where there's a drug and it has side effects. And everybody hates the side effects, and no doctor wants their patient to suffer the side effects. But if you don't address the sickness, you're gonna have a bigger problem down the road.
But the stock market assets have gone up 150%. CEO pay has gone up 1,500%. Workers' wages haven't gone up at all. I think you're misdiagnosing the sickness.
Take your medicine, people. Now, sometimes.
See, I like his little thing that he said right there at the beginning of that, where he used the bathtub theory, because that's the kind of thing that I like to use, and a lot of people that I know like to use is the bathtub theory when it comes to the economy. But see, the thing is that when people do that, they kind of do it the wrong way because they assume that the bathtub is the economy. It's the people. It's the people that everybody in the, in the United States, if we're doing the US dollar. And then the water that's running into the bathtub from the faucet is the money that's coming into it. Now, the problem with that, though, is that they only use one bathtub, thinking that everybody is giving enough money equally, when in fact it's one spigot, one spout with two bathtubs, and you've got the ultra rich elites and then you've got the rest of us. And what's happening is that there's this funnel, at this spigot, and it's cutting off 98% of our water, and giving, if that spigot is giving 100% water into the two, supposed to give 50% into the two bathtubs, it's not doing that. It's actually giving 98% into one bathtub and 2% into the other bathtub, and into the elite bathtub and into the regular people's bathtub. And so, the elite bathtub is filling up with water. It's overfilled. There's so much water in there. It's ridiculous. You could take a bath in there. Meanwhile, this other bathtub for the regular people has barely any water in it, that, you couldn't even put your own, cat in there because it wouldn't even, or your dog in there because it wouldn't even be enough water to keep them clean or to clean them and wash them down. It's just, there's nothing there. It's barely anything. And so that's when you hear these rich elite people, like what he was saying on there, that, the bathtub is overfilling, and then where are we going to put all that water? Well, that's not the problem. Like I said, you're using the one bathtub theory when there's a two bathtub theory, because not everybody's getting the money equally. There could be even more bathtubs. There could be three bathtubs. You got the elite, middle class, and then the ultra poor. That's where you can really kind of spread out where that money is going from that one spigot. So
that's a good theory there. I never thought about it that way, but that is actually a very good theory, and it seems like it seems very valid. Because certainly that working poor is not getting the proper water it needs. Right, and correct. Barely middle class.
Him using the thing where he says workers equal or like a sickness, you know, that's like not giving the workers enough money and then blaming them for not, you know, he was saying there wasn't, you know, there was too much demand. That's what he's saying, that the water that's running into the bathtub is the demand and that's overfilling, not the water. That's not how our economy works. Demand can overseed what is being made, but that just makes things more expensive. But that doesn't mean that during a quarantine, when we weren't even able to work and we were barely even given stimulus checks, that we were out there wanting to buy stuff all the time. There was actually a less in demand. But they like to throw, like I said earlier, they like to throw the blame on the regular people, so that way the elites don't have a blame. You know, like what John Stewart was saying, misdiagnosing the sickness, because it's the sickness is not the people, it's not the workers. The sickness is the faucet, you know, that's the separation, whatever divider in the faucet, that's is the sickness. And who is in charge of that? The treasury, the feds, you know, the national banks, those are what's in charge. So that's the problem. But we're misdiagnosing the sickness. We're blaming it on the workers and demand and punishing us. Like you were saying, austerity is murder, you know?
Exactly. And you know, they like the stimulus checks, those 2 stimulus checks. They think that's they actually think that's caused a lot of sloths and laziness. I mean, 2 stimulus checks, and they think that people are living it up with those 2 stimulus checks. They will never ever let people live it down about that. They act like that was, and these are the people that they claim that they want tax cuts for everybody, but that was almost a tax refund, like an extra tax refund. That's all it was.
Yep.
Yeah, and it kind of shows that they have contempt for ordinary people. They do. Yeah, they don't want people to have money. They're totally content with seeing that. They want to see more poor people, and they want to see the middle class that existed. They want to see that shrink, and they want. I mean, they really want to. They really want to see the majority in live in squalor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, just compare the amount of money the government gave to citizens for the 2 stimulus checks. Compare that to how much money we've given Ukraine over the last year, and tell me what's really causing inflation, please. I really love to you know, that would be a good one.
I keep having to convince people, you know, whenever like, and I'm okay. This is where I sound like a Biden supporter, and I'm not. They're like, well, the economy just went down the drain when Biden became president. No, it's not his policies that you know. Well, it's not directly his policies. It's the economy was trying to get back to normal from the lockdown, from the COVID crisis. That was a global crisis, and we had a supply a crisis that's happened. And it probably would not have happened as bad if we didn't have all this manufacturing all these years from both parties voting on trade policies that took our manufacturing base all around the world. If most of that would have still been here, we might have been able to muddle through that a little bit better. But that's something that people just not willing. The right wing, I want to say this time, the Republican hacks, they don't want. They just like no, you know.
Right.
And that's their mindset.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so let's watch the second half of this, and then we will get out of
Tools that we
here.
have, though, are basically saying to somebody, everyone's paying more for gas and groceries, and that's really hard. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to throw 10 million of them out of work so that we all don't have to share that burden. Why aren't we attacking corporate profit in any way? Because that's been estimated to be 30% of inflation.
Isn't the show going to be on Apple TV?
Correct.
And I think Apple TV is worth about 5 times as much as Exxon. I think Apple's price, since the stimulus began, Apple's value has gone up by about $1.2 trillion. Right. That's $4,000 for every American, just an increase in the value of Apple.
You just made my point for me.
Do you feel that Apple is
Right.
gouging and doing something wrong?
Yes, of course.
So,
and Exxon is, and Mobil.
so let's talk about Apple. Let's talk about Apple. Do you think Apple should just sell phones for less and not have enough phones? What would you have Apple do?
You're saying to me, John, Market forces are market forces. And if demand goes up, are you suggesting, young man, that Apple should charge less than they could charge? Let me flip that on you. When there's a tightness in the labor market, what you're saying is the workers shouldn't do the same. That the workers, just following the same capitalistic principles that allow Apple to charge more for their phones, shouldn't charge more because wage inflation is driving inflation.
That's not at all what I'm saying, John.
That's exactly what you're saying.
No, the reason
That's exactly what he was saying. That's crazy. Like he doesn't want to agree with it when it's turned around. Like when, you know, when demand is really high, you want to be able to raise the prices of your products that you're making. But when inflation is really high, you don't want to help workers out to make more money. So that way because inflation just means that, you know, the money isn't worth as much and people don't have as much. So that means that the regular people need more money. So give them more money, give them higher wages. But they're like, no, that's not how it works. We need to lay off more people so that way we can continue making the same profit without giving that to workers. It's always putting the brunt part on the regular people, and it's always our fault.
Exactly. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Americans. There's a bulk of Americans that has this. You know, it's collectively our fault. We're just not working hard enough. We're not doing our bit, and there is, in some ways, kind of a culture, a cult. Kind of a religion of hard work, that if we work hard enough that we'll get the pat on the head, and they're going to go and tell us we're doing good and give us that break and everything. And no, we're Americans are working harder than they've ever worked, and they're not getting that pay raise. They're not getting their fair share. In fact, they're working harder and they're getting less.
Yep, exactly. I completely. That was a really good thing. I'm glad I saw those 2 little snippets. I want to see the rest of that when it comes out. So Jon Stewart's been on a little nice rampage as well. I've been kind of enjoying some of the things that he's been going on. I mean, he's definitely, you know, on his little show podcast that he does, you can definitely tell that, you know, there are some things that he needs to learn, but his mind's in the right place. His heart is in the right place. So he's definitely doing a lot better than that other guy. What's that shit talker dude that, like, what was it? God, I'm horrible with names today. Not Jon Stewart. Who's the other one?
John Oliver?
No, he's what's his name? Russell Brand just went on his show last week. God damn it. I'm gonna forget. I'm never gonna get it right. I'm never going to find it either. Oh, well, he, like all the rest of them, even the mainstream media ones too, you know, like Jimmy Kimmel and, you know, all the rest of them, like everybody's just a shit lib now. So it's nice to see. Yes, Bill Maher. Thank you, Johnny. Jeez. Yes. Pittsburgh dude, 87. Bill Maher. Yes, absolutely. So at least Jon Stewart isn't Bill Maher. Like at least we've got that, you know, like at least he's out there. His heart's in the right place. He's doing the right things. So I'm, you know, just like Russell Brand, there's definitely a couple of really good people that are starting to get known and have the right ideas of things. So yeah, Sherry's all Tucker Carlson. All right. So what do you got going this week?
I guess, well, obviously Saturday night I'll do another stream for KRTD Media, and tonight, at about an hour from now, I'm going to be interviewing Jamar Jabari from the Jamar Jabari podcast from the anti-war march, Peace in Ukraine, Stop NATO rally this weekend, and I'll be interviewing him. And then I may pop up a stream here and there between when I get the energy too.
All right.
Yeah.
And then I will be back tomorrow. I think I'm back on doing a show again throughout the week. So now that everything's settled down here and everything's getting back to normal. So they can all find you. How do people get onto your YouTube channel?
Easy. Yeah, just Willy, the Willy Bragg Show, just put it on your search engine, Willy Bragg TV. YouTube.
Are you sure? Because I've looked it up on YouTube and I've looked up the Willy Bragg Show and it shows me something else. Some music guy.
Billy Bragg?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh no, you're on there now. Look at you.
Yeah.
Okay, no, you've made your profile SEO available, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
YouTube.com/@ Willy Bragg TV.
Cool. Awesome. Because yeah, there was a minute there where I just could never, even when I typed in the Willy Bragg show, it would just give me all kinds of other things. But your SEO, you're good now. You're SEO, you're search engine optimized.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and same thing on Twitter. Willy Bragg TV, easy to find. So, and
Okay.
Cool.
And thank you everybody for coming. Everybody in the audience, Jesus, in the comments, thank you all for coming. And we will see you all tomorrow. All right. Peace. Bye, Willy.
Bye.